My name is Mel Henry and I'm with the New River Land Trust in Blacksburg. We work to protect farms, forests, and waterways across the New River Valley. And a big reason why we protect these areas is for habitat for wildlife, like birds. We love birds and we're so excited you're ready to go bird watching. Before we get started, we have some cool facts about birds that we want to share with you and some tips on how to increase your chances for an awesome bird watching experience. There are more than 400 species of birds in Virginia, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Different physical traits in birds are often shaped by diet and habitat, and believe it or not, we have many different habitats across our state. We have forests, swamps, bogs, freshwater tidal marshes, saltwater marshes, estuaries, and the Chesapeake Bay and coastal habitats, to name a few. Nestled in Appalachia, the New River Valley hosts an abundance of rich and diverse forest habitat and is home to a wide variety of unique and important birds. Physical traits, like the shape of a bird's beak, are actually adaptations dictated by diet and habitat, which have occurred over time to help the bird survive. A bird's beak is designed for eating particular types of foods. Take woodpeckers, for example. They feed on a diet made up of mostly insects, and their sharp beaks allow them to puncture through bark and wood to find bugs inside of trees. While birds that prefer to feed on nuts and seeds, like finches, have short, sharp, cone-like beaks for cracking the hard exteriors of their food. Birds are important for so many reasons. Many feed on bugs, helping to keep our insect populations under control, while raptors, like eagles and hawks, feed on small mammals and can help keep rodent populations under control. Vultures are what we call scavengers, and they have the super important job of cleaning up the carcasses of other animals. While this may sound gross, they're actually doing us a big favor. They are not only helping to keep away foul smells and sights, they are also helping to prevent the spread of disease. In addition to playing a vital role in ecosystems as predators and prey, birds are also crucial for the reproduction of plants through their role as pollinators or seed dispersers. It is estimated that millions of seeds are spread by birds each year. Here in Virginia and throughout the rest of North America, we have what we call residential birds and migratory birds. Residential birds live here year-round, while migratory birds make a two-way migration each year, flying south to the southern U.S., Central and South America each fall, and then returning the following spring. During migration, some birds will fly for hundreds of miles without stopping, and for many, when the journey is complete, they have traveled thousands. Over 1,000 species of migratory birds are federally protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Passed in 1918, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act was enacted in response to the extinction or near extinction of a number of bird species, many of which were hunted either for sport or for their feathers. This law makes it illegal to hunt, take, capture, kill, possess, trade, or sell any migratory bird, and in turn enacts protections for nearly all of the U.S.'s native bird species.
So why do birds migrate? It's easy, food!
In the spring, we have a big burst of food for birds. Trees begin to produce blossoms and new leaves, and with these come insects and insect larvae. Food is abundant, and many birds fly north to our area because there is plenty to eat and plenty to feed offspring, making spring an ideal time of year for many birds to nest and raise their young. Birds build their nests out of twigs, grass, straw, and even spit. Some birds prefer to build their nests in bushes, shrubs, and trees, while others prefer to nest within holes or cavities. Because of habitat loss and competition from invasive bird species, cavities that occur naturally within trees are less abundant than they once were, and many cavity nesters are struggling to find homes to raise their young. Mounting birdhouses can be helpful because they provide cavities for these special birds. In the fall, food and other resources become more scarce, and many birds make the long journey back to the south, where they will be sure to find plenty to eat during the winter. This doesn't mean that all of our migratory birds are gone for the winter. There are birds that fly south to our area from farther north during this time as well, to escape the harsh winter temperatures. Yellow-bellied sapsuckers, a type of woodpecker, migrate south to our area from Canada and the northern U.S. during the fall each year.
So that brings us to birdwatching. Why do we do it?
It's easy and it's free. It's a great excuse to get outside, and we love to be outside. It's something that you can always do from home, just about any time you want to. You can birdwatch with friends, or you can birdwatch alone. Birds can be wildly entertaining. They have some funny and interesting behaviors that we just can't get enough of. Finally, birdwatching is for everyone. You don't have to be a pro. In your backpack, you'll find your Bird Sleuth Explorer's Guidebook. This resource outlines key ways to sharpen your observation skills and can help you get started by guiding you through a habitat scavenger hunt, bird searches, identification pointers, and more. You can also use it to keep track of the different birds you identify along the way. Keep in mind, you can use this backpack to observe all kinds of wildlife, not just birds. All you have to do is get outside and see what you can find. Always use caution and be sure to give animals plenty of room. If an animal reacts to your presence, you are too close.
Rule number 1 about our binoculars is before we even start using them, we want to make sure that they are around our neck and secure.
Dropping binoculars can easily break them, and that wouldn't just be a big bummer for you, it's a bummer for the next person too.
So getting started with our binoculars, one of the most important things to know is that this middle dial here is what helps us focus. So put them up to your eyes and see if they're too close together or too far apart, and make sure you adjust them just right so that it looks like you're looking through one lens rather than two. Now when it's time to practice using your binoculars, find an object that's far away to focus on. Look at it with your eyes first. Once you've got your eyes fixated on the object, lift your binoculars up and look at the object through your binoculars. Use the middle dial to focus the lenses until the object comes into view.
A lot of the time when we are observing birds, we see them moving around as they search for food and do other busy bird things. Following them with your binoculars can get tricky sometimes, and you will likely lose sight of them before too long. This is just a part of birdwatching. There will always be birds that you just aren't able to get a great look at. Just do your best and try not to sweat it if you lose track of them. You're likely going to cross paths again someday if you just keep watching. These images show the parts of a bird. These are also outlined in your bird guide in more detail on pages 14 through 17, so check them out there too. These are helpful to know when you're observing a bird and trying your best to remember their key characteristics in order to identify them. There are a lot, so don't worry about learning them all at once. Just do your best to learn them as you go, bird by bird. You probably already know a lot more of them than you think. Where is it? Is it at a bird feeder? In a tree or a shrub? On the ground? Is it out in an open field? Or is it in a more forested area? What color feathers, feet, and beak does the bird have? Take in as much detail as you can. If there are multicolored feathers, try your best to remember the colors. Are there any defining marks or characteristics? This bird is mostly brown, but his lighter breast is something to take note of. If you look closely, you'll also see he has a faint stripe above his eye. What shape is the bird? This one is actually super helpful to remember if you can, especially if there aren't too many unique defining marks. Many birds can be easily grouped by their shape, but not all of them. About how large is the bird? This one can be tricky, but it gets easier with practice. Try your best to compare it to a nearby object, or if you know of another bird that's a similar size to compare it to, that's even better. What is the bird doing? Is it eating, jumping around on the ground, or through tree branches? Is it singing, flying? So now that we've done our best to remember everything we can about our bird, it's time to try to identify it with our bird guide. First, try using the clues you remember to figure out what group the bird is in. Turn to pages 6 through 9 in your field guide to look at the different bird groups. There are a few example images for each group. Look carefully and determine which group you think the bird you have in mind might belong to. Flip through the group pages and see if you can find your bird. If you can't, that's okay. Move on to the next group you think it might belong to. You should find it eventually. Learning to use your field guide takes a lot of practice, and that's okay. Nobody gets it right away. You'll get the hang of it eventually.
With enough practice, you can also learn to identify birds by their calls and songs. Often, you will hear a bird before you see them, and it can be very helpful to have an idea of a bird's typical call or song in order to identify them. Learning bird songs is fun. Once you learn a few, you'll be able to ID birds without ever even laying eyes on them. A helpful tool for remembering bird songs is to learn to associate the song with a mnemonic. A mnemonic is a gimmick that can help us remember something. For example, the mnemonic for the call of the eastern towhee, a common residential bird in our area, is "Drink your tee-hee-hee, listen here." Hear how it sounds similar? Drink your tee-hee-hee. Mnemonics can be found in your field guides for just about every single bird.
Now try using your field guide to identify this residential Virginia bird. For reference, he is about the same size as an American robin. It's a northern mockingbird. You can find him in the thrushes, mimids, waxwings, and allies group.
So where should you birdwatch? Well, you can always visit a public park or any public lands to see birds. Anywhere near a body of water, like a stream that's behind me, is a good place to see birds. In your own backyard is obviously a great place to see birds. You can birdwatch just about anywhere. So now that you've watched this tutorial, you are ready to use your outdoor exploration backpack to be an expert early birder. Have fun, happy birding, and be safe. Thanks for watching.